tracing front-end processes in 5 minutes, I think that will be intense, but let's get into it. I have a little example of a process that could happen in a front-end application. We have some data, it's like counter for several items, and we want to increment that counter and then synchronize with an external API. And there could be many things that might happen. It could go all well, or the item could be remotely removed. The server could return a 500, or let's say a 409 for remotely changed. And we have to react for that, and you have a lot of asynchronous processes, and that can be hard to debug. And you might want to have 3 questions at that point to what's happening in the application. First, really, what is happening? Next thing is, when is it happening? And the third and crucial thing is, why is it happening? And often when I was debugging code, I found that hard to answer because the logging that you usually get shows you what request or what action happened at what time, but not what immediately caused it. And I will give you a short demo of a plugin for Vue that I built to give you an impression of how you could handle that. And this is related to the state management I presented earlier. I will not get into the state management, but this is exactly the process that I just showed. We have 3 items, as you see, and I will tell my API mock that I want to get this 509 back with a new count, which is 900. And when I click on plus right here, you see count jumps to 901, which is the 900 from remote, plus the one that I wanted to add. And what I also see is a little entry in the console. There's currently no more visual explanation, sadly, but what you see is I just called warehouse.incoming, and that called update item count, and that called synchronize save, and that's tried to synchronize with the API, but returned an error with remotely changed and with a new count. And then I updated the local item and retried the update item count, resynchronized with the API, and everything just worked. And I have to tell you, this is a plugin that you can insert into your code with just like, I don't know, 5 lines of code or something, and you don't have to touch the actually business logic. And I think it shows you with very, very little noise what's happening. So this is the demo, and how this works. This is like what this plugin does. I think I don't have the time to get into that. In very, very short, it wraps methods automatically to track calls and to inject a proxy as context into them that catches calls to other methods to have this deep tracking, and does this for infinity if you have recursive calls, for example. So this is obviously very short and might be very confusing, but it works so far. I think that's like the point for this talk. And what I would find interesting is ideas, what you can think about if you get deeper into that. You could write a more framework-agnostic core and framework-specific plugins. You could think about browser extensions that will visualize the tracing that we just got. Or you could go very crazy and maybe snapshot test those traces, or I don't know. So, well, that would be very crazy. And I would love to hear your ideas or use cases. I think this is not for small applications, it's for bigger and more complex applications, but I would love to get more into that. And that was it. Yeah, thank you very much.